Hey everyone, Sleepy Reader here. If you care to join me for a glance through previews, you can see I've put stickies on a whole bunch of pages of stuff that interests me. I'm just going to look through the previews briefly with you and show you things that caught my attention that I'm thinking about ordering, probably will order, I guess, some of it or keep an eye on. There's lots of different kinds of ways people do preview shows, and this is my fast and dirty way. So if you care to join me, I'm going to turn the camera around in a second, and we will look at previews together. Okay, so I'm going to start with the DC previews. DC, for those who don't know, DC and Marvel do their own separate little previews. DC used to be inside the larger previews magazine, and Marvel always, for as long as I can remember, had its own separate magazine. So, but now even though DC has a cover, like my daughter was very kind of bothered by the fact that there's a cover for DC Comics on the previews that doesn't contain the DC previews, and previews always has two covers too. They don't miss a beat in terms of advertising, which no doubt is selling to the whoever will pay to be on the cover. Probably the most will be on the cover, and they also have these gate folds so they can have other sort of specially promoted comics. So anyway, I kind of since DC is kind of one of my top places that I'm watching what comics they have come out, I really enjoy the fact that they have this separate magazine. It makes it much easier. I guess it's tough for all the other companies that can't afford to have their own separate magazine. So a lot of people probably just look at the Marvel and the DC previews magazine, those who look at previews at all. So first that caught my attention were these Year of the Villain, which is one of these crossover event things that I, in my veteran comic book reading, decided to avoid events and avoid these things. But I'm super tempted by these two. Lex Luthor, Year of the Villain. They're $5 books. They have 40 pages, which probably means they have 30 pages of story instead of 20 or 22. Maybe they just have 28 pages of story. You don't really know just because something says 40 pages. That's the number of pieces of paper divided by 4. So it's really made up of 10 pieces of paper. But 40 pages counting the covers when they say that. But Lex Luthor, Year of the Villain is drawn by Brian Hitch, and that's what makes it tempting to me. Jason Latour, I don't know that he was an artist. I think he's the artist on, what's it called? Southern Bastards, not Baptists. Southern Bastards, Jason Latour, and has done writing for Marvel that I've heard good things about, but I haven't actually read him. So it might be fun to read that. But then more on my list of, oh, geez, I got to get this, is The Riddler, Year of the Villain, written by Mark Russell. Art by someone I never heard of, Scott Godlewski. They should list the colors here, too. For me, it would be very useful if they list the colors. However, I just like to get every Mark Russell comic, and especially if it's a one-shot, I won't later want to have to buy the whole collection of these one-shots in a hardback or paperback. I'd rather just read the Mark Russell one. So I'm 100% for sure going to add this Riddler, Year of the Villain on. I don't know about the Lex Luthor yet. Still thinking about it. Let's see, what did I mark next? Okay, From the Pages of Heroes in Crisis. Now that makes me nervous. I am not reading Heroes in Crisis. I might get it in trade, but probably not at this point from all the stuff I'm hearing about it. But it does seem... I know a lot of people who are very obsessed by, can we please have a Poison Ivy comic? So that jumped out at me. And I think Poison Ivy is an interesting character. She lays in the spectrum of good and evil in an interesting way. I don't know if I'm that excited by her and Harley teaming up. It's a nice, jokey kind of thing, not a serious kind of thing. But I am extra interested because Jody Houser's the writer, and I really liked her writing on Faith over at Valiant Comics. So this is kind of a maybe for me. Probably one I'll just keep an eye out for in the stores, and hopefully my store will have it, because my store does not stock everything if you don't order it. And now I see that DC is doing these facsimile editions just like Marvel has been doing. So I assume it will have the ads and everything. So that also might be something tempting me to pick it up. Also something I probably won't put, on my pull and request that my shop order it for sure with a guarantee that I will buy it. Next, I'm really torn by Legion of Superheroes. I think even though I haven't been too happy with most of Brian Michael Bendis' writing at DC, I think I will put his new Legion of Superheroes on my pull list. The question is, do I need the oversized 40 pages again, number 1 of 2, so a 2-issue kind of hype, let's get all hyped up as Brian Michael Bendis introduces his version of the Legion. Do I need to buy those 2 more expensive issues before the regular Legion series begins? I don't know. As usual, they're making it a big deal by throwing in a lot of artists, like Jim Lee in particular, throwing a little Jim Lee to just show that this is a big DC comic. And Jim Lee's okay, but he's not my guy, so probably because of my age. I was talking to someone who's saying how, Jim Lee was his favorite artist when he was 12 or 13 or whatsoever. When I was 12 or 13, Jim Lee was probably 12 or 13 also. So he was not my favorite artist back then. But I heard Brian Michael Bendis on the podcast Word Balloon talking about this and how he's going to use this Millennium thing. And wasn't there a series called Millennium before, back in, the 80s or early 90s? Anyway, he's going to use this Legion of Superheroes Millennium thing to try to connect up all the timelines like Commandy and other odd future timelines in the DC history and somehow make them all connect to the Legion, which I think is just a bad idea. I think you should just leave Commandy and other oddities from out of the DC world. Just leave them alone and just have a straight line from our world to the Legion without any apocalypses that make all animals intelligent and things like that. Anywho, so I definitely am going to get the Legion of Superheroes. Will I get this special 2-issue thing coming before it? Probably I will get it, and probably I'll end up regretting it. I can almost predict. Okay, I'm super excited over this. The Inferior Five, which was a very brief in existence, like maybe 5 or 7 or 8 issues back in the Bronze Age, or was it Silver Age? Either early Bronze or Silver. I have 2 of the issues of the Inferior Five from back then. Kind of a spoof on superhero comics from back then. And now it's coming back with written by Keith Giffen and Jeff Lemire, which I'm really interested to see how the 2 of those combine. And art by Keith Giffen also, and someone named Michel Delecki. I don't know if that's his inker or co-penciler. Variant covers by Jeff Lemire. Anyway, a 12-issue maxi series, which is often a kind of sweet spot for DC Comics. So I'm all there for Inferior 5. It'll probably be a very silly, fun comic. What have we here? Okay, I'm not sure why. I think so. Batman, Superman. While I love Joshua Williamson's indie comics, he has not wowed me on his work at DC. The stuff that I've sampled, some people really are loving his Flash run. I only read a little bit of it, so perhaps I should go back someday and reconsider it. I guess I'm tempted by this cover and by the fact that David Marquez will be doing the interior art. So I've got to look closer at this. It does involve the Batman who laughs. So is that the Shazam who laughs there? I don't know. Can't believe Batman /Teenage Ninja Turtles number 3 is still going. I haven't read any of those, although I hear they're actually good. And okay, I I hope I already put this Jimmy Olsen on my pull list, but I want to double check to make sure. I did miss, I think my shop, which is supposed to give me issues of previews, and I pay for them, I think forgot to give them to me or didn't get them last month. So I did miss a month. I just want to make sure that I put Jimmy Olsen on my pull list. And this Who Shot the Decoy Corpse of Jimmy Olsen has a very kind of Jim Steranko look to it. So I'm real excited for that. Steve Lieber is a fun, interesting artist. Matt Fraction, when when he's at his best, is very good, especially on odd, wacky titles. So I look forward to that. What's next here? The Terrifics. I keep thinking I spent quite a while reading The Terrifics. It wasn't very good. Then it got pretty good. And who was writing it? Was it Jeff Lemire? No. I forgot who was writing it. But then I kind of gave up on it finally. And now they've had Gene Luen Yang on it. And he did a great job with the new Superman and the Justice League of China. So I feel bad. And I thought that this had gone away. But I should give The Terrifics a try. So I think I marked it just to remind myself to look for an issue to just pick up at the store. Because I'm not going to put it back on my pull list. Oh, and here we have Wildcats. So I've been reading Wildstorm in trades, and it's been really great. This new Wildstorm series by Warren Ellis that's been quietly coming out from DC. So with the new Wildcats coming out, should I put that on my pull and get the individual issues from now on, or should I wait and get it in trade? I haven't completely decided. Okay, and now we're into their announcements of hardback and paperback collections, and Doom Patrol by John Byrne caught my attention. I haven't read it. I've heard at least one person say it's horrible, but somehow I'm always attracted to a series that John Byrne has tried or succeeded or failed to put his special touch on. He had a long enough run on the Doom Patrol that they can have an omnibus, which is going to be 672 pages. I love getting books in hardback, oversized, which omnibuses always are. So I think there's an extremely good chance I will get Doom Patrol by John Byrne omnibus. That kind of thing I don't order through my shop. I get it through in-stock trades, so I don't have to order in advance. Just keep an eye out for it when it appears on in-stock trades. Oh, in-stock trades is a website that sells trades at a very deep discount, for those who don't know. And yeah, so it's become it's where I learned to like hardbacks, because suddenly at in-stock trades at 40 to 50% off, hardbacks became affordable to me. So now I really want things in hardback. So there's another thing, the House of Mystery, the Bronze Age Omnibus, Volume 2. I have Volume 1 of the House of Mystery. I have Volume 1 of the House of Secrets in omnibus. I'm definitely going to keep collecting them. This cover looks very tempting. That will be 840 pages. The price tag's $125, so I'm doing the math in my head. That's going to be around, $62.50 for me if I catch it at, usually in the first week it's on sale. In-stock trades will do it for 50% off. If it's over $50, they give it to you without any shipping costs. So that'll be many, many issues of this in hardback for, probably ends up being $2 an issue or the like, and you get it in the oversized hardback. All on the same lines, man, I'm going to be spending a lot of money on omnibuses because here's the Jonah Hex Bronze Age Omnibus Volume 1. I don't know if I need the complete Jonah Hex in hardback. We'll see, but I definitely want at least that first volume. I just loved and was terrified by Jonah Hex when he first came out in the late 70s. So was it the late 70s? I believe so. Or was it the mid 70s? Anyhow, another kind of blockbuster size, 888 pages. So all three of those are going to be on my shelf when they come out. And last, nothing to do with that, but just a reminder to myself that the 4th volume of Wildstorm hasn't come out yet. I might have thought that I have all 4 volumes, but I've only read the first 2 volumes, but I think I have the first 3. So this is probably the conclusion of it. So I definitely want to have it, and I probably will sit down and reread it all because it's got that kind of subtle Warren Ellis writing where you need to be paying attention. It's not all in the dialogue, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that wraps up. Oh, look, so everybody does this trick, 2 covers to doubly promote important books. I'm not at all excited by this Harleen. Even though Stefan Sejic is a good artist, I don't really care to see his Harleen Quinzel, his Harley Quinn. So anyway, that does it for DC. This is going to be a longish video, I guess. So let's look at Marvel next. Marvel also 2 covers. I like that Carnage cover, and it's by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, so maybe I will. I don't know. I think this is the front. Yeah, so there's this big Jonathan Hickman thing. I hate the look of this art that they're showing. I really don't know Pepe Larraz and R.B. Silva, the artists. So Jonathan Hickman, definitely a great writer. Something that in my mind I probably want to get in trade or preferably in hardback if they don't take too long to put out the hardback. So I think I'm passing on the individual issues of this, even though I'll be pained when if other people are loving it that I'm not reading it in real time. So what did I tag for myself? Thor, King Thor, which means to me old Thor, the Thor that Jason Aaron made up at the beginning of his very long Thor run now, which he started with Esad Ribic, who I had been afraid now only does covers. So just get interior art by Esad Ribic. I love this old Thor character. So it's Thor as the king of Asgard, far, far in the future, and things have not gone well for Asgard. Everything's, at least the last I knew, everything's pretty much destroyed by that God Killer character. I can't remember the God Killer's name, except for Thor and his 3 granddaughters. So and these granddaughter characters are wonderful too. So I'm really looking forward to that. This variant cover is kind of tempting, although Thor looks almost like Batman there, I guess because of the colors. They say it concludes Jason Aaron's epic Thor story, or maybe concludes the one that Aaron and Ribic did together about these characters. So really looking forward to that. That definitely goes on my pull list. And amazingly, it's only a $3.99 book, which in my head becomes a $3 book because of my discount at my comic book store, my 25% discount. So I can absorb a lot of $3 books. It used to be, in my mind, all comics were worth was $2.50. A new comic was worth $2.50 to me for the pleasure it gave me. But now I've moved on up. Another exciting thing is Valkyrie. I see this is issue 3 already, which means with me not paying enough attention and or not getting all the previews, I may not have put this on my pull list. Hopefully it's not too late. Is this a mini-series? It probably is, but it doesn't say here. It's got Jason Aaron and Al Ewing writing together. I don't know how people writing together works, but those are 2 of my favorite Marvel writers. Cafu is the artist, and I have no idea who that is. I feel like I've seen Cafu art before, but I can't remember what it looked like. So covers by Mahmoud Asrar. That's a nice cover. I like it better than his Conan work, actually, but it doesn't tell us anything about what the art will be like inside. I find Marvel, a lot of comics have covers that have nothing to do with interior work. I feel like with DC, more often than not, we do get covers that relate to what the artwork on the inside is going to look like. Either it's the same artist or a similar artist. But I feel nervous when I look at previews for Marvel because I have no idea really what the interior art will be like. Like, for instance, there was that comic with Belette, the old girlfriend of Conan, and the cover art was a million miles away from what the interior art was like. And the interior art is what kept me from getting Belette, I think, most of all. Okay. This is odd. I guess a New Mutants one-shot written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Bill Sienkiewicz. It's a 40-pager for $5. So for me, it's going to be, I don't know, a little less than $4 with my discount. Probably $3.75, I suppose. But I can't resist Bill, especially the Bill Sienkiewicz part. Want to see what these two elder statesmen of comics can do at this point. Here we go. Age of Conan Valeria. Again, cover by J.N. Coletto, but interior art by Anenke. And so Valeria is another female companion of Conan. I don't think he ever got to sleep with her either. But anyway, she's like a kick-ass swordswoman before Red Sonja, so to speak. She actually appeared in Robert E. Howard's stories, which Red Sonja did not. But so that could be really cool. And it's a miniseries. It's by Meredith Finch, who I thought I did not like her writing, but she is now rising a bit up in my esteem because I did like the one-shot issue she did of Savage Sword of Conan. So I can't decide, should I put that in my pull? Maybe just hope that there are rack copies and I can look at what the interior art looks like. Because Conan and things in the Age of Conan really, in my mind, rely on the right artwork. So, I don't know. I've always liked the character of Valeria. She hasn't appeared in a lot of Conan comics, so it's kind of cool that they picked her out because she is obviously a character who could be explored a whole lot more. Savage Sword of Conan, which it's all on my pull list. There's no decision to be made there. I'm not a fan of this cover, though, I do have to say. Maybe it's the colors, particularly. Everything looks kind of, I don't know, plasticky and flesh-colored at the same time. Oh, and omnibuses I might get. Conan the Barbarian Volume 3. Has Volume 2 already come out? Did I miss that? I've got to run over to InStock Trades and see if Conan the Barbarian Volume 2 came out. I definitely want Volume 2. I think that the early Buscema run was extremely good, and then it got a bit rote. It's still probably worth getting, so I'll probably get Volume 3 also. This is the reprints of the 70s Conan. Volume 1 was a must-have because it's mostly Barry Windsor Smith. And then I think I'll probably get this, Incredible Hulk by Peter David. I didn't read all of Peter David's run back in the day, which was probably, was it the late 80s to early 90s? I was not going to say here what years it came out. But Peter David's a very good writer. It might be really cool to read his run consecutively as opposed to sort of the random issues I read at the time they were coming out. Back when I assumed you didn't have to read every issue to enjoy comics. No, it's not. Oh, they are doing a deluxe version of, it's an oversized, it doesn't say what size, but an oversized hardback of the brief Black Bolt run. What was it total? 12 issues, all drawn by Christian Ward. Not my favorite Christian Ward project, but a good one. So I think I'm highly likely to get that from InStock Trades. It's going for $35, so if I can nab it at 50% off, that would be less than $20, so that would be well worth it to me. This is intriguing, and I'm not sure what it's going to be. Write Your Own Marvel. Did they already have a hardback of this, or it wouldn't? So it seems like it's a bit like that old Marvel tryout book with that was John Romita Jr. artwork. So this might be a fun one-off kind of thing to have. $15, so with some kind of discount, quite cheap. What does it say? Think you can follow in the giant footsteps of the likes of Stan Lee, Chris Claremont, and Jason Aaron and put words into the mouths of Marvel's greatest heroes and villains? This is the book for you. It's comics action in the mighty Marvel manner, with all the text taken out. Empty word balloons and captions await for you to fill with all the wit and wisdom you can summon up. So this is definitely being like Stan Lee, when the artist would do the story and most of the plotting, and you would get the art and have to fill in what the dialogue is. I guess in this case, though, you won't. You have to fill in dialogue in pre-existing balloons, I'm assuming, from what they're saying here, which means you'll be kind of limited in the amount of dialogue you can put in. But looks like a fun exercise. Would definitely be great with a younger Marvel fan in your family who would want to try to make up their own story. Since my daughter's more of a DC fan, it might be fun to do with her, but anyway, I will, out of nostalgia's sake, and hopefully there's some John Romita stuff too. They don't say who the interior art's by. Hopefully there's some John Romita stories that one can add dialogue to. Okay, and finally, last and not least, maybe least, they've got a Man-Wolf collection. And I do love the concept of Man-Wolf for some reason. An astronaut who found a gem on the moon that turns him into a werewolf of sorts. But he's kind of a superheroic werewolf to an extent. And he is the son of J. Jonah Jameson, John Jameson. So a lot of cool potential with that character. I read bits and pieces of him. I remember when he was, what was he in, Marvel Premiere or Creatures on the Loose? I got a few of those issues. I read a few of the issues where he appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man. So I didn't know he was in Savage She-Hulk. So anyway, this might be a fun one to get. This is more of a question mark. Maybe I'll get that. Okay, very cool. Next, we've only gone 26 minutes. The big one, the previews that has everything else, which is like 80,000 items or something. There have been months where I've really gone through this thing thoroughly, but I kind of did not have the patience for it this month. But I did go through it and mark some stuff that interested me. So let's see. A new Matt Fraction book, and with the artist Elsa Chartier, who's an artist I like. I've only seen her at DC and Marvel. This is a very indie-looking, in the old idea of indie, in the sense of not superheroes, not slick artwork. Looks like very kind of low-key coloring, but I will probably get this. I'll be curious. It's only 3 issues, which seems more likely that Matt Fraction will be able to finish it. He seems to have a lot of unfinished projects. But on the other hand, they are hardcovers. So that's interesting. I thought it was individual issues. $16, $17 hardback. Colors by Matt Hollingsworth. So that's interesting. They talk about the exquisite lettering, but I actually don't like that lettering that I'm seeing on these sample pages. Okay, next, that interested me. Trees is coming back in a 5-issue miniseries, which is odd because Trees went on and on and on for a while till it's just stopped with a very slow burn story. So are they going to wrap this up in 5 issues, or are they going to keep going with a series of miniseries? And apparently this is being adopted for TV. Wow. What a story to do on TV. It returns with a brand new story of murder and ghosts. But I could swear they didn't finish the story in the original Trees. Anyway, I'll be getting this. I love Jason Howard's art. Warren Ellis always makes me think. And maybe I will glean a little bit more about the overall Trees story, which I liked from that. Why did I mark this page? I guess just because it said... No, I don't know. Oh, to remind myself to get Coffin Bound by Dan Waters, the writer of one of my favorite current comics, Lucifer, because I missed the previews that mentioned issue number 1. Sex, Chainsaws, Pancakes. That alone would not make me want to read a comic book. I certainly don't like my sex combined with chainsaws, and probably not with pancakes particularly either. I do like brunch. Okay, and here's a comic from Burger Books called Everything. And what interested me there is it's by Christopher Cantwell, the writer of She Could Fly, another comic that I enjoyed a lot. So I will probably add that to my pull list. It being it says ongoing, but it being a Burger Books, it's probably only going to have 5 or 6 issues because she seems to do, Karen Berger of Burger Books seems to do short runs. Another Dark Horse book, Triage. I don't know whether I'm going to get this. It says Philip Savvy's authorial sci-fi epic. I don't know who Philip Savvy is. Initially, I think the cover attracted me, but then these samples of the interior art just don't particularly look appealing. Okay, so that was something I was thinking I might want to add to my pull, but I don't know about that. Tommy Gun Wizards caught my attention. It's by Christian Ward, but he's the writer and cover artist. So what's the interior art going to be like? In their struggle to take down Al Capone and his bootleg magic operation, Elliot Ness and his Untouchables must navigate corrupt church officials, mystically enhanced bruisers, and ruthless wizards. So it could be really good. I have no idea if Christian Ward is a good writer. It sounds like a fun idea. So probably one that I will hope to pick up off the rack. That seemed, well, my shop gets more Dark Horse than it does other indie stuff that I haven't ordered. So maybe my shop will have that on the rack. Why did I mark Usagi Yojimbo? That's on my pull already. I must have just been so excited because there's a new story arc starting with issue 3. So Usagi Yojimbo is something you can jump in on frequently because they have brand new stories starting all the time, every two or 3 or 4 issues. So the first story arc in this new IDW series is only 3 issues. You probably could jump in anyway, but it gives you lots of jumping on points. So here, this radical shift of gravity just sounded intriguing to me, but this is a trade paperback at $30 from Top Shelf. So I may look into that more. The world is changing. Gravity, a force everyone takes for granted, has begun to disappear. A young journalist, Noah, spends his days documenting the wondrous and terrifying shifts in the world around him. I wonder if this is a reprinting of a European graphic novel. I don't know. It kind of has that look. There is currently a comic from Image Comics about when gravity goes away, which I'm reading, and I can't remember the title of right now. Here is IDW's page or true page spread about their artifacts and their artist editions. And I did not know there was a Miracle artist edition, either coming up or artifact edition. So a Miracle Man from the Alan Moore series of a long time ago. So that has me very interested. We also have a John Byrne artifact edition. I don't think I'll get that, but it is something I'm kind of pondering. So the artifact editions have random pages from various issues. So they call it artifact if they don't have complete issues of the original art to show you. And while I guess I'm going to put up with that with Miracle Man, I have found I prefer to get ones that have full issues for whatever anal reason, even though the main purpose of these kinds of books is to look at the art, the original art, and get that vibe. So here's something that also tempts me. This is an ongoing. The Death-Defying Devil, which is a character that clearly is the original Daredevil from the Golden Age, which went out of copyright, but of course Marvel owns the name Daredevil now. So they have, Dynamite has taken that character along with a bunch of other out of copyright or copycat Golden Age characters and done their series, what do they call that series? Superpowers, I think. So they're spinning out Daredevil, the Death-Defying Devil instead of Daredevil. but with Gail Simone writing. So I think that might be worth trying out. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Golden Age villain, the Yellow Claw, but he came from the pages of Daredevil, of that Golden Age Daredevil. Betty Page Unbound. That's for a different kind of reader than me. Okay, here, a new all-ages book from Art Balthazar. I love Art Balthazar and his sense of humor. My daughter is probably getting to the point where she's too old for Art Balthazar comics, which I discovered by reading with her, especially the Tiny Titans. But I am now hooked to Art Balthazar, so I get anything from him that I can. Another thing that's grabbed my attention from Boom is Kieran Gillen writing his take on the King Arthur myth. The Maguire family has held back supernatural threats for generations, but this time they messed up. As an ancient evil arises from the grave, Bridget and Duncan find themselves up against forces bigger than they could have expected, and faces new and old are about to complicate things further. So the once and future king is King Arthur of legend. So I assume that that's what that's a reference to. So I'm gonna add that to my pull list. Okay, I think that covers it. So all the rest of this, I did not go in deep enough, or didn't in a quick look see other stuff that caught my attention. Here's the Aftershock section. You Are Obsolete. I think that's a cool title. I've never heard of these creators, so maybe I should read this and decide. That's something I might pick up when I'm looking around. Midnight Vista, also by creators I don't know. I have been, for a while I was picking up a lot of Aftershock, and quite a few Aftershocks that I got kind of underwhelmed me. So they definitely have some good comics going on, but yeah, I have not always picked their best. I love Stronghold's one of my favorite current comics. And that comes from Aftershock. I keep forgetting that. Okay, so I will talk to you all later. Thanks for hanging out with me if you made it this far and looking at previews with me. Ciao.